There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you.
What's up, everybody? It's Kyle. Welcome into the EXP News Break. Today is April 6th, 2021, and we are going to talk to you about the new things happening in the news of nerddom right now. Did you guys know that this year, 2021, is the 50th anniversary of Kamen Rider? And, without Kamen Rider, you don't get things like, Giant Man. You don't get things like Power Rangers. There's so much stuff that only exists because of Kamen Rider. And this is the 50th anniversary of the release of Kamen Rider. And we get a new movie, a new TV show, and for the first time, a new anime of Kamen Rider. The projects that are set to release this year to celebrate Kamen Rider's 50th anniversary is I don't know how to say it properly, but it's essentially Shin Kamen Rider, a live-action film from Shin Godzilla co-director Anno Hideki, opening in March 2023, which, is some time from now. But, that's how that kind of stuff. Kamen Rider Black Sun, a reboot of the 80s television series from director Shirahashi Kazuya, and Futo P, or Futo PI, an anime series from Funimation based on the manga where Kamen Rider comes from. So those things are happening. Kamen Rider launched in 1971 with a self-titled television series, and has existed ever since and spawned so much of the great stuff that we know today, much like Power Rangers and like other things that have. Basically, if you see it and it's based on mechs and it's from Japan and it isn't based on Code Geass or Evangelion or Voltron or Macross, it's based on Kamen Rider. So there you go. Jensen Ackles is, he's the Batman for the animated films coming up. The second part of his Batman The Long Halloween, in which he plays Batman, will be rated R. This is the first half of the upcoming two-part animated movie adaptation. Batman The Long Halloween is rated PG-13 for violence, bloody images, language, and some smoking. However, the second half has received an even more mature rating. As revealed by FilmRatings.com, Batman The Long Halloween Part 2, which will release this fall, has been rated R for some violence and bloody images. Seems backwards, doesn't it? But, the way they rate movies doesn't always make sense. And there are great stories. If you want to go out over to YouTube and you can look up movie producers and directors telling stories about the things they did in an effort to keep their movies rated a certain way, and the things they added in so that other things would seem more reasonable. Trey Parker and Matt Stone are great examples. Just go and look up the stuff they did. But produced and written by Jeff Loeb, again, artist Tim Sale. The original Long Halloween was a 13-issue limited series that took place after Batman Year One, running between 1996 and 97. This is the animated version of that with Jensen Ackles of Supernatural fame. Sorry, I can't believe I just blanked on that. Playing Bruce Wayne / Batman. Naya Rivera as Catwoman Selena Kyle. Josh Duhamel as Harvey Dent. Billy Burke as James Gordon. Titus Welliver as Carmine Falcone. David Dastmal. I don't know how to say his last name, and I don't want to butcher it any further, as Calendar Man. Troy Baker as the Joker. Amy Landecker as Barbara Gordon. Julie Nathanson as Gilda Dent. Jack Quaid as Alberto. Fred Tatasciore as Solomon Grundy. And Alistair Duncan as Alfred, along with Francis Collier, Greg Chung, Gary Leroy Gray, and Jim Peary. The film is expected to arrive this spring or summer, and part 2 will come in the fall. So, rated R, that's new. Most of the DC animated films have been more all ages. They've been more accessible to everyone. So, a rated R rating is a pretty deep cut for them. So, that'll be interesting to see what they do to earn it. Uh, Into the Spider-Verse 2 will feature the 90s animated Spider-Man. Thank you, Disney Plus. Look, the 90s Spider-Man is on Disney Plus, as are the 90s X-Men and a bunch of other cartoons from my childhood. So the more we can incorporate those into modern things, the better off we are, in my opinion. But Christopher Daniel Barnes will reportedly reprise his voice acting role as the 90s animated Superman for Into the Spider-Verse 2. Christopher Barnes was the original voice of Spider-Man for the animated series in the 90s, and he will be returning to that for this series. The hashtag show is reporting that Barnes is in final talks to appear in the sequel to the hit animated film from Sony. They have heard that his role will be small, but the actor will voice the version of the character who appeared in the 90s animated series, with the film even replicating the style of the show. The report claims Barnes will appear in a few key scenes before showing up during the film's finale. Additional characters from Spider-Man media are also teased, even though no details are given. Barnes was Peter Parker slash Spider-Man in the 65 episodes that ran between 1994 and 98. He's also appeared in numerous other Spider-Man animated shows and multiple Spider-Man games, voicing Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Man 2099, Spider Knight, Electro, Vulture, and more. The first Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse film featured numerous comic book characters from across Marvel's Spider-Universe, with one version of Peter Parker evenly seemingly pulled from the Sam Raimi movie trilogy. Guys, anything that can have to do with the Sam Raimi trilogy, strong win. Because Macho Man was in those, as was Bruce Campbell. So let's try and aim for more of that. Sony, if you're listening, more Sam Raimi Spider-Man. Other news that came out. If you're a fan of horror films, be prepared for horror television. Chucky recruits 2 more Child's Play alumni to be in the new show with him. Alex Vincent and Christine Elise will reprise their role from the Child's Play franchise in the upcoming TV series Chucky. The Chucky's TV series added the veterans to face off against everyone's favorite killer doll. Reported by Entertainment Weekly, Alex Vincent and Christina Lees will be part of the upcoming USA Network / Sci-Fi show. Vincent will reprise his role as Andy Barclay, the boy who first owned Chucky in the original 1988 slasher Child's Play, and appeared in several sequels. Likewise, Elise will return as Kyle, Andy's foster sister, who also fought the Fiend in Child's Play 2 and Cult of Chucky. Chucky is one of the most popular, still highly regarded films from that era of horror. And so, when you go to these horror conventions, you see people lining up in long lines to meet the people who were in these movies. So adding more folks who were in the original trilogy, who were in the original films, and there have been several, will only help the TV series. The TV series Chucky is written and directed by Don Mancini, who wrote all of the original Child's Play movies and directed 3 of them, but distanced himself from the remake, obviously. The synopsis reads as follows. In the new Chucky television series, after a vintage Chucky doll turns up at a suburban yard sale, an idyllic American town is thrown into chaos as a series of horrifying murders begin to expose the town's hypocrisies and secrets. Meanwhile, the arrival of enemies and allies from Chucky's past threatens to expose the truth behind the killings, as well as the demon doll's untold origins as a seemingly ordinary child's toy, as a seemingly ordinary child who somehow became a notorious monster. Look, I can remember Chucky scaring the crap out of me as a little kid. And so I'm all about Chucky coming back as an adult and scaring the crap out of me again on regular television. Like, guys, this is not a movie you have to go to theaters and see. This is not on some subscription service. This is going to be on USA Network and Sci-Fi later this year. Chucky stars Brad Dourif, Jennifer Tilly, Fiona Dourif, Zachary Arthur, Tio Briones, Olivia Allen Lind, Devin Sawa, Alex Vincent, and Christina Lees. The series premieres this year. So, there is one other piece of news I just wanted to touch on, which is that Lock and Key Sandman is coming out, which is the crossover between the Lock and Key series from Joe Hill and Sandman by Neil Gaiman. The crossover Lock and Key, the Sandman universe, Hell and Gone. And it's a two-part story. One part is coming out from IDW. Another part is coming out from DC. The crossover is there. But the news I want to report is that before writing the series, Joe Hill and his co-creators got Neil Gaiman's blessing to use the characters and to represent him that way, and they got his insight. So if you were cautious about that show or that book, sorry, because you were worried about how Neil Gaiman felt about it, just know he is now involved, and that is, as always, a good thing. So this has been the EXP News Break, our short little news show that happens once a week. I have been Kyle. We will see you all in just a couple of minutes on In Stores This Week with myself and Dan Wickline. If you're wondering what's happening, just refresh the page you're on, and that show will pop up in just a few seconds as we transition the way we do things here at The Experience. So if you're wondering why shows are ending and new shows are starting and not just being one long video like they had been, this is why. So make sure you hit refresh, and we will see you guys in just a couple minutes here on The Experience.